Atma Namaste. This is Ritu. I am a psychologist, counselor, and a pranic healer. So we are nearing towards the full moon of the festival of goodwill. And in this festival, we often repeat Four Noble Truth and Eightfold Path given by Buddha. It is very important that we should repeat these teachings because that increase the essence of virtues within us. So in today's session, whatever point of view I'm going to present that comes uh, from the teachings of my beloved teacher, Master Chopak Sui, and also from the books of Theosophy. So we are reading from the book The Masters and the Path by Bishop Leadbeater. So here we start. Let's start with the Four Noble Truths. So this is starting from the scenario where it is said that Buddha Maitreya, which is upcoming Buddha, he gives a sermon on the day of full moon. So it is starting by giving a scenario where Buddha Maitreya, who every year repeat this Four Noble Truth and Eightfold Path to his closest disciple. The sermon begins with the proclamation that the middle path is the safest and indeed the only true path. To plunge on the one hand into the sensual excess and pleasure of the ordinary worldly life is mean and degrading and leads a man nowhere. On the other hand, extravagant asceticism is also evil and useless. There may be a few of whom the high ascetic and solitary life appeals, and they may be capable of leading it rightly, though even then it must not be carried to excess. Now, here, what he means to say is that to achieve enlightenment, to achieve a soul growth, sometime people go to extreme, like they become sage and they take high penance and do tapasya and all that thing, and then they achieve the oneness with the God or the great ones. However, or on the other hand, some people live deep material life where they're not connected with their spiritual self. So he says that always adopting a middle path is safest one because not everyone can do what some sages and do, and also we all are people with family, with our commitments and all that. So what is the path where we can balance the material life and the spiritual life and achieve the desired soul growth? So he said that it is the middle path. The first step towards leading of such a life is to understand its conditions. So why we want to live a spiritual life and what is the middle path? First of all, we need to understand what is life. What is the conditions in life? And the Lord Buddha lays these down for us in what he has called the Four Noble Truths. These are sorrow or suffering, means he says that there are suffering in life. And then he says that the second one is the cause of sorrow. So, what is the cause of sorrow? He has described the cause of sorrow. And then he says that the ceasing of sorrow. So, it is possible that we can cease the sorrow. And then he says that what is the path? The fourth one is what is the path which leads us to cease the sorrow? Right? So, let's see one by one. First thing is sorrow or suffering. The first truth is an assertion that all manifested life is sorrow. So he says that all manifested life is sorrow. If you see that day to day life, there is a struggle. Now take the example of sorrow, not as sorrow, but there is a struggle in life, right? For food, for shelter, for making a life beautiful, to take care of your family and dealing with the death, disease, and all the things. It's It's a kind of a suffering. However, here I will not like to go deep into it and saying that the whole life is sorrow, but we can say that if we are not having a right attitude towards life, the life looks sorrow. Let's see what ahead he's saying. In commenting upon this, the Bodhisattva said that there are two scenes in which manifested life is sorrowful. One of these is to some extent inevitable, but the other is an entire mistake and it's very easily be to be avoided. So he's saying that there are two ways. Let's see what is that. To the monad, who is the true spirit of man, all manifested life is in one sense a sorrow because it is a limitation. Now, to understand the monad, if you read the book Theosophy books, you will come to know what is monad. Monad is, let's say, a bigger pool of energy, and we are just a drop of it. The true essence of our whole self is monad, and we are just a drop of it. For common people, it is. Now, for people in pranic healing and arhatic yoga, you know that master call it divine spark. The monad is divine spark. From monad uh, comes higher soul, and from higher soul comes incarnated soul with all the vehicles, all the bodies, right? So this is for people of in pranic healing and arhatic yoga. You will understand this. So for general understanding, there is a bigger energy pool called monad, and we are, when we incarnate, a drop of it comes like us as a soul, and then we have these bodies, right? So from monad point of view, to the monad, who is the true spirit of man, all manifested life is in one sense a sorrow because it is a limitation. So, if we are a big pool of light and we are what we realize, what we are aware is just a drop of it, then you can understand that it is a suffering because such a big life is just understanding itself like a drop. So it is a limitation, right? And taking birth in the human body, you have to follow the nature's law and you cannot go beyond that and project all your powers. So it is a limitation which we in our physical brain cannot in the least conceive because we have no idea of the glorious freedom of the higher life. So we have realized our life as a drop only, and we have not realized our life as a this big pool of energy, right? So definitely it is a limitation, right? And because we have no idea, we cannot conceive this idea. We cannot even think about it that how it looks like, how it feels like, right? But the higher energy, which is monad, if we put ourselves on and in the shoe of monad, then we can realize that it is a limitation, right? In exactly the same sense, it has always been said that the Christ offers himself as a sacrifice when he descends into the matter. It is a sacrifice undoubtedly because it is an inexpressible great limitation, for it's shut off from him all the glorious power which are his on his own level. The same is true of the monad of man. Now he has given the example of Christ. Christ is the second aspect of the God, the love aspect of the God. And when he incarnated as a Jesus Christ, now just do not see the life of Jesus Christ where he has made sacrifice, but as a powerful being, which is the which is the one aspect of out of three, which is the love aspect of the God coming down as a human form. Think about how much limitation he is taking. He is limiting his power and coming into a drop, though he is a kind of a limitless power. So it is indeed a sacrifice, right? Like for us, if we are a human being and somebody says that to do something good, you shrink yourself and become an ant or become a being smaller than ant. then it is a sacrifice, right? You are living a glorious life of human being, doing lot of things, enjoying lot of things. Now limiting your life or your consciousness um, as a end is a sacrifice from your end, right? But to do something good to them, you have done that. So it is a sacrifice. You understand? So, same way, now this is the example of the great being, but for us human being also, who has a bigger pool of energy, which is called monad, and we have incarnated in a small drop, it is a limitation. The same way is true of the monad of man. He undoubtedly makes a great sacrifice when he brings himself into the connection with the lower matter, when he hovers over it through the long ages of its development up to the human level, when he puts down a tiny fragment of himself and thereby makes an ego or individual soul. Now that's how it happens, like over a period of development and all that thing, and then one point comes when he is able to extend a drop of it and make our own personality, our own soul, and live the life. So it is a sacrifice on all of us from the point of view of monad. Even though we may be only a tiny fragment, indeed a fragment of a fragment, we are nevertheless a part of the magnificent reality. There is nothing to be proud in being only a fragment, but there is a certain certainty that because we are therefore part of the higher, we can eventually rise into the higher and become one therewith. That is the end and aim of our evolution. Now, very beautifully, he has put the purpose of the life. So, when we have come from that great pool of light over a period of time, when we develop ourselves and purify ourselves and become the pure essence, we can always go back and meet that bigger pool of light, which is the part of the great one light, which we call as the supreme being, right? So, it is a great hope. And even when we attend that, remember that it is not for the sake of our delight in advancement, but that we may be able to help in the scheme. Now he's saying that the monad has extended itself down to develop certain quality within us. And that development we will take back and go back to that great pool of light, which is called monad. For example, you go somewhere, you are a part of an organization. Now your organization want you to take some training, some special training, and come back and add value to the organization. So your company will always send you to the required country or place where you can gain that experience. And then after gaining that experience, after perfecting yourself, you are coming back to that organization and adding value to it. So there is always coming back, because you have come, you were sent by a company and now you are coming back, right? And you will add value to it. Now when we are coming back, or when we are developing ourselves, it is not that I have to develop myself. It is not from a pride part, but I am developing myself because I want to add value to my organization. And uh, through that value we are going to serve people. So the purpose of the life is to should be to have a spiritual development, but just not for the sake of a spiritual development, but we need to do service because we want to serve. That is the real feeling, right? Because you see someone suffering and you want to help that person. It should not come from an idea that, if I help that person, I will be getting spiritual development. No, the idea should be that you are moved by looking at that person suffering, and now you are helping. So automatically you will gain the soul development. All these sacrifice and limitations may rightly be described as involving suffering, but they are undertaken gladly as soon as the ego fully understands. Now, once you understand the true essence of the life, once this physical life understand the true essence of our life, that why we are here. Suppose you have gone for the training to a certain different country. Now, By reaching there, you forgot that for what purpose you have come, and you have limited days. Suppose you have 1 month. Now, whether you develop yourself or not, you just have 1 month. So we all have come to this physical life, and we all have a limited span of life, right? Maybe 70, 80, 90, 100. Different people have different span of life, but approximate 100 years if you say. Now, beyond that, we cannot go even whether you are developing yourself or you do not develop. Now, when you came here and you forget that, for what purpose you have come. Now you don't remember. So of course you are not focused. You are just enjoying their life. You're just living a normal life over there by, going through the life from good or bad situation. But you do not know for what purpose you have come. But the soul who have realized this truth, that why we are here, we are here to develop virtues, purify ourselves, develop positivity within ourselves, serve people, make this world a little more beautiful. And then as we perfect it and we are the soul, we have to go back and mingle with the higher energy. If we have that kind of intention within us, the whole scenario change. That means when you are going there to that country, you know that what you have to do. So without wasting your time, you will utilize your maximum amount of time in learning what you have to learn. And then you can bring the greater value to your organization rather than the people who do not know that for what purpose they have come and what they are supposed to do. Right? An ego has not the perfection of the monad, and so he does not fully understand at first. He has to learn like everybody else. That quite tremendous limitation at each further descent into the matter is an unavoidable fact. And so there is that much of suffering inseparable from manifestation. So there are certain powers in the monad, like bigger pool of ourself, but when we came down, we do not realize that thing. So certain qualities we need to develop here. So if we realize that we have to develop those qualities, we will work towards that. So though we have that quality over there, but developing it here is itself is a limitation, right? Like how to bicycle, but if you get into a situation where kind of you forgotten that, and again you have to do it though you have already known that. So it's a limitation, right? That quite tremendous limitation at each further descent into the matter is an unavoidable fact. And so there is that much of suffering. We have to accept the limitation as a mean to end and as part of the divine scheme. But that endeavor to develop ourselves itself is a mean to develop ourselves. Like it is like, you are purposefully lifting the weight in, it is not the part of your life that you have to lift 5 kg, 7 kg, or 10 kg weight every day. But you go to the gym, purposefully you lift the weight, and you have to, sometimes you struggle to do the repeat the three repetition, 3 rounds and all that, but you push your limit and you do that, right? That help you to develop. So we need to take it as a, though it is a suffering, though it is a limitation, but we need to take it as our own self development. So if you look at the things from this, and the whole perspective of looking the things become different. But having said that, all these are limitations, right? There is another sense in which life is often sorrow, but a kind of sorrow that can be entirely avoided. The man who lives the ordinary life of the world often finds himself in trouble of various kinds. It would not be true to say that he is always in sorrow, but he is often in anxiety, and he is always liable at any moment to fall into great sorrow or anxiety. Now, he is giving from the monad point of view. He has given the what is limitation. Now the worldly life, now that one drop, what is the struggle of that one drop in our day to day life, right? From the higher perspective, it is until unless we don't realize that it is a limitation. But this is the worldly limitations and sorrow. So all of us go through a life where we desire certain things, where we are doing certain things, and we often experience stress, anxiety, panic, depressions, all these, right? So these are all sorrow, right? So how it is that the reason for this is that he is full of lower desire of various kinds, not at all necessarily wicked, but desires for lower things, and because of these desires he is tied down and confined. He is constantly striving to attain something which he has not, and he is full of anxiety and to whether he will attain it, and when he will attain it, he is anxious lest he should lose it. This is true not only for money but of position, power, fame, social advancement. Now he has said that day to day desire as a lower desire. Now please do not take it as a when we say lower, it is not any degrading word. When we say lower desire, we have explained you in the earlier para the higher life. Higher life is that we have a higher self, a big pool of light, and he has sent in this, he or she has sent because it doesn't have any gender. That pool of light has extended one drop as us coming down to this earth and living a material life. So from that point of view, if we talk, we will call it higher, and the extended version which has come to this earthy life will be called lower. So the lower is not any degrade thing, but lower is more of a worldly thing. Now the worldly thing can be the desire of our day to day life. So he's saying not the bad desire, it is not always the bad desire that it is bad, but day to day life we need money, we need fame, we all crave for relationship, and love, and all these things, the worldly desire, what the life brings, those kinds of desires. And when we based on that desires, we often say like what we desire, and how much we are desiring, when we are going to get it. And if we lose those kind of things, suppose somebody is desiring for money, that person has got money, but those who have got money, and if they lose it, that also cause pain. Same goes with the relationship, same goes with the finances, same goes with the health. All these things are kind of a worldly desire. All these cravings cause trouble in many different ways. It is not only the individual anxiety of the man who has or has not some object of general desire. We have also taken into account all the envy and jealous and ill feeling caused in the heart of others who are striving for the same object. Now, now here what we are going to talk, it definitely belongs to the negative, in the negative sense. So anything, the desire of food, oh, I want to, eat chaat, and the chaat is a dish, and suppose I got a plate of chaat, but my cat jumped and the chaat has fallen. Now I so wanted to have that it will cause sorrow for me, like, that, oh, I lost it, right? It's a simple example. Then people desire for education, family, relationship, all these are day to day desire, and it can cause anxiety, panic, depression, all these emotions comes into picture, right? So it is a sorrow, all these emotions are causing ultimately sorrow, right? Now here what we are talking is about the ill, or the really negative emotions. Now it is of two sides. Suppose we want money, and we see that somebody else is having money, though he or she may not be doing it the great job or great work, but he is having that money, and we are talented but we are not having. So there might be, for many of the common feeling for many of the human being is that they feel little envious about that, right? Now suppose that person who is having money is you will cause that same sorrow in the people, in the heart of the other people who are not having money, right? So in a society where you will see a big gap between the rich and the poor, this is often seen, right? So So that is all causing the negative sorrow, right? This is called the envious, jealous, hatred. All these are causing those lower emotions. Negative emotions are causing actually negative kind of suffering. But the suffering is suffering. There are other objects of desire which seems higher than these, yet are not the highest. How often, for example, a young man desire affection from someone who cannot give it to him, who has it not to give. From such a desire as that comes often a great deal of sadness, jealous, and much other ill feeling. Now he's saying that, for example, somebody loves someone, one-sided love, someone is A is loving B. Now B is not paying attention to A, or if B is not interested in A. Now A from the full heart loves B. Now if the B is not responding, the A is suffering. Right? And if B started loving C, again the A is suffering because of the jealous. So one is he's not getting love, so he's suffering, and one why C is getting the love of B, he is suffering, or maybe C, his best friend, getting the love of E, in whom he was interested. So though it is a different person, but because he is getting the love and he is not getting, is having enviousness towards C, right? So this is all suffering. You will say that such a desire is natural. Undoubtedly, it is. And the affection which is turned is a great source of happiness. Yet, it is not, it if it cannot be returned, a man should have the strength to accept the situation and not allow sorrow to be caused by the unsatisfied desire. So here, what is the reason is like, okay, desiring the love, liking someone is not bad. But when you are not seeing that it is returning back, you should be mature enough, or you should have the understanding that it is not always necessary that when you are loving someone and he or she also loves back, so it is okay. And it doesn't show that you are not lovable or you doesn't deserve love. It is that just that B is not interested in it. It is as simple as this. And just move on in your life. If you have that much of maturity, you can reduce the pain of suffering and you can move on with the life. But if you just cannot control your desire to get the love from B, you will always be suffering. When we say that a thing is natural, we mean that it is what we might accept from the average man. But the student of occultism must try to rise somewhat above the level of average man. Now, if we say like it is okay, no, it is very common that people suffer from heartbreak. If B is not loving A and A is loving B, then it is very common, right, that the people who love suffer. For common people, yes. But for the people of occultism, means people on the spiritual path, should be mature enough to understand that this is not the final goal. It is just a worldly desire. If it is not fulfilled, that is not the goal of your life. And rise above that situation. Rather than going down, drowning into that, you rise above that situation. We must rise above the level in order that we may be able to reach down a helping hand. We must aim not at the natural, but the supernatural. So now, when we see that, like for example, this is the work the what counselor or psychologist to do. If we have that understanding, then we can help other people also to come out from that. Right. But if you are so emotional that you accept that, oh no, this is the natural thing, he should feel that, and he should feel that pain and all that thing, then you will not be able to help. Or if you get into the pain, oh my God, how much he is suffering. It is like you are stepping into a drowning boat. So, as a healer, as a counselor, we always need to look into the third person. We should acknowledge the feeling of a person, like, yes, it is like he has not got the love, so he is sad. Yes, it is. He is sad, and it is okay to be sad, but not to live on that situation. it is not recommended. It is not the final goal. We need to go above that. One who is clairvoyant will readily describe to the truth of this great teaching of Buddha that on the whole life is on the whole life is sorrow, for if he looks at the astral and mental bodies of those whom he meets, he will see that they are filled with a vast number of small vortices of whirling vigorously, representing all sorts of odd little thoughts with little anxieties, little troubles about one thing or other. All these cause disturbance and suffering, and what is needed most of all for progress is serenity. The only way to gain peace is to get rid of them altogether and bring us to our second noble truth, the cause of sorrow. Now, he said that those who are clairvoyant, who is clairvoyant? The clairvoyant are the people who can see the energy world also. Like there is aura and chakra in our body, and those who are clairvoyant, they can see that. So they can see that, right? So now, people in pranic healing or Hati Yoga, you know about this concept. So the people who see the aura and chakra, they see that if normal people comes, he's talking about most of the common people he encountered, because Leadbeater was a fantastic clairvoyant. So he's saying that those clairvoyant, if they look into the aura and chakra of people, they see small energy vortex, like small kind of whirlpools floating in their aura, and these whirlpools are destroying the serenity and peace in the aura. They are creating a turbulence, like we say, right? If there is no ripple in the water, we can see through the water, but if there are lot of ripples, lot of disturbance, it prevents looking into the uh, it prevents looking through it, right? So same goes with the aura and chakras. So if our energy bodies are cluttered with this kind of small whirlpools and disturbing energies across the body, these are the different kind of desires creating the disturbance in the body. So the clairvoyants can see this thing, and if we get rid of all these things, we can achieve the serenity, and we can get rid of those kind of sorrow, right? Now that brings us to the cause of sorrow. So what is the cause of sorrow? I think meanwhile, what when we were discussing about the sorrow, we understood that approximately what is sorrow. So let's see what is sorrow. What cause the cause of sorrow? We have already seen that the cause of sorrow is always desire. If a man has no desire, if he is not striving for place or power or wealth, then he is equally tranquil whether the wealth or position comes or whether it goes. He remains unruffled and serene because he does not care. Being human, he will, of course, wish for this or that, but always mildly and gently, so that he does not allow himself to be disturbed. We know, for example, how often people are pro- prostrated with sorrow when they lose those whom they love by death. But if their but if their affection be at the higher level, if they love their friends and not the body of their friends, there can be no sense of separation and therefore no sorrow. If they are filled with desire for bodily contact with a friend or on the physical plane, then at once that desire will cause sadness. But if they will put aside that desire and live in the communication of the higher life, they will not have the sorrow. As I said that we have already seen that because of the desire, the sorrow comes. Now, there are people who doesn't care much about how much wealth, how much fame and name and all these things, and they live a very peaceful life. Now, they do have, because if we are alive, we will need something, right? Whether you want or not, but to be alive, you need to feed your body, right? But are we desiring for something, elaborate? 7 course meal, or we are satisfied with a small portion of food, nutritious food which is required. If we get the good food, that is okay, we can manage with the simple also. So their desires are very subtle and mild, just to fulfill their desire. If they have that kind of thing, then they will not go deep into that. They love someone, but when they see there is no reciprocation, they are okay. That loving from my side is okay, but I cannot guarantee that somebody else will love me that much. And in families, I'll tell you that this is the most important thing to remember. Most of the time, some in all the family it happens that there are a few people who do a lot to the family, and in reciprocation there must be some people who are like completely enjoying their life and not doing contributing in the work of the family or something. But the person who is doing, sometimes they do not receive that much of appreciation and love back. Yes, this is painful. Sometimes you feel that, but if you think too much about that, you will be like depressed. But if you just think like oh, they are kid, they are in an age where they do not understand, they are fully protected by our love, that is why they are enjoying their life fully. Tomorrow when they will have their life, they will understand, of course, right? Most of us have gone through that phase when we have lived a very carefree childhood life. We never realized that we are living a careful free life because our parents are providing everything. There is a mother, there is a father, there is sibling, grandparents and all that who are pampering us. But when we deal with the life, now we are understanding that. So whether we understand or not, or whether the person who is enjoying the life will understand or not, your feeling should not be too much concerned that why you are not getting the acknowledgement, right? So if people have this understanding, they can avoid a lot of conflict and the negative emotion. Being a psychologist, I can say that all this, harboring the negative emotion, oh, nobody values me, I do so much for the family and all that, this cause health issues. So this what we are discussing is just not for the spiritual life, but if you apply this in your day to day life, you will make your life peaceful. So what we are discussing is just not for the enlightenment or become Buddha. That is a higher goal, but these are important to live a peaceful, balanced life. Right. So he has given the example that some people lose their loved one, and they mourn too much means some mourning it's yes, you will be late, but mourning day and night, and not able to come out, being depressed, being sad, and deterioration of health and all this is not permissible, uh because if you think that the soul has just left the body and the soul is still there, if you understand this essence, it will reduce your pain and suffering, right? Sometimes people grieve when they find old age coming upon them. When they find their vehicle not so strong as they used to be, they desire the strength and the faculties that they once had. It is wise for them to repress that desire, to realize that their bodies have done work, and if they can no longer do the same amount as of your uh, as they were doing the young day, they should be gentle and peacefully what they can, but not worry themselves over the changes. Presently, they will have new uh, bodies, and the way to ensure a good vehicle is to make such use as one can of the old one, but in any case, to be serene and calm and unruffled. The only way to do that is to forget self, to let all selfish desire cease, and to turn the thought outward to the helping of others as far as one's capability go. Now, this is very important, and this is one of the reason why people suffer depression, particularly in the old age. Sometimes you might have noticed that these old people, they become grumpy, they become sad. You will see people, either they become very grumpy, or if you go to park and all in the evening, you will see people sitting in benches. They will not smile, they will not talk, they are just sitting for hours. And you will know that they are not very happy. but they are very quiet. So within inside, they are maybe reflecting the whole life. Earlier, they were very active, and now the body is not supporting their activities, and it brings sadness. Sometimes people, suppose somebody was a bodybuilder or runner or something, after a age of 70 and all that, they are not able to do the same amount of exercise, running and all that, and that takes them into depression, and sometimes they push their limit. So one side, it is good that you are always active, but also accept that there is a age. Now I have to do it according to age. I cannot do the same thing what I was doing in my 30s or 40s, right? So this understanding should come. For example, in tennis and all, if you see that these players, they play, and by the time they hit their 30s and touch 35 or so, after that, whatever achievement comes, people take it as a wow, because they kind of assume that now by this time the efficiency will start reducing, right? And those who are achieving at that age also, people are appreciating it because they are able to do that. And it's still, because it is international competition and young people come, so the age gap is not that much, but people can easily stay active and up by the age of 50 and 60, can easily pull them. Like, I'm not talking about taking part in the international competition, but in general. But in sports competition, of course, new blood, new stamina people are coming in. So the lifespan of a active uh, international player becomes less, right? But we need to accept it as the age is coming. So the solution is that all of us who are in their young body means you have not touched in today's condition with all the health facilities and the comfort of life. Take the example till those who are below 60, because 60 is the retirement age also. So I'm not taking that age as a benchmark, but I'm just giving you a scenario that at least we all should be very active, doing using our life properly, effectively, adding value to the life of others, gaining knowledge, and doing lot of things, so to live a very fulfilled life, so that at the last stage, when our body started slowing down, we should accept it as it is coming. And we should also understand that this old age is also a temporary condition. Now after some time, the soul will be liberated and will have a new body, right? So sometimes even people, those whose parents were or grandparents were bedridden for years, they also feel sometimes very very sad. Sadness is inevitable because one life has ended, right? But the thing is that living a life on the bed is better, that they will get a new body now, and now they are liberated, right? So we need to have a proper understanding of that, what kind of attitude we should keep, right? So this completes our cause of sorrow. So the cause of sorrow is desire. So we have studied about the suffering from the monad level, when it extends down as a drop, so it limits itself. Then in the worldly level, the two aspect, right? On the higher aspect, the monad and the extension of the energy coming down, and the on the second side, we have seen that because of the worldly desires, we, by getting it, not getting it, losing it, we suffer. Now we have also seen that the cause of desire, the cause of suffering is the desire, and we often have too much of desire, and which causes ripple in our aura. So we need to keep our desire in a milder form. Do not attach yourself too much into the desire, and also had the perspective that we should use our life properly, so that whatever is coming in our life, we will accept that situation. And that is why you will see many people after their retirement and all, they start their new life, and they start, after that, they start schooling, they start teaching poor kids, they start taking care of garden and all that. They use that part as a very constructive, in a very constructive way, rather than just sitting and waiting for their death. In our ancient time also, if you see, after a certain age it was like vanaprastha. After certain time it is like, they used to take sannyas first. Before vanaprastha is sannyas ashram is like living all the worldly desire and focusing on your spiritual growth and service. And once you go further into that, then it is a vanaprastha, like leaving everything and going to the forest, doing your spiritual practice and attaining the higher um, higher goals, right? So sorrow and the cause of sorrow, we have seen that. In our next video we will see the how to cease sorrow and what are the path which can help us to cease sorrow. Thank you. Namaste.